Landlords have overrun the economy. You'd be forgiven if you believed that the most common type of business would be goods that are being produced or services such as hospitality. Well, no, it's buy-to-let landlords. Reporting for Novara Media, Harriet Williamson said this. According to research by real estate company Hamptons, the most common type of firm registered in the UK is now buy-to-let businesses. The number of companies holding buy-to-let property in the UK rose from 92,975 in 2016 to 401,744 in February of 2025. In 2024 alone, a record 61,570 new limited companies were set up, a 23% increase on 2023, which previously held the record. In fact, there are now nearly 4 times as many buy-to-let businesses registered with Companies House as there are takeaways or hairdressers. She continued on by saying how this has basically coincided with a mass tax avoidance scheme. The explosion in buy-to-let firms over the past 9 years dovetails perfectly with a gradual withdrawal since 2017 of income tax relief individual landlords used to employ on residential property finance costs. These changes didn't affect UK and non-UK registered companies, so landlords appear to have moved their portfolios en masse from their personal names to limited companies. Productivity in this country is low, and in a recent leaked document, Google co-founder Sergey Brin described a 60-hour work week as the sweet spot to boost productivity. Sarah, we got rich people telling people work harder, when in reality the problem is our economy is relying on landlordism.
Yeah. Honestly, again, another topic. Honestly, the topics you've got today are just going to get me super hot just thinking about it. Because everyone knows how I feel about landlords. Economic deadweight. I say it all the time. Get rid of them. Abolish them. They are like a parasite in our society. And our economy isn't broken because we're not working hard enough. It's broken because a system's been built where hoarding assets is more profitable than actually producing anything of value. And that's what the landlords know that. They're not innovators. They're literally, I'm going to be so harsh here, they're economic parasites. I'm sorry to anyone who is a landlord or knows someone who's a landlord. That is just my personal opinion. I believe landlords are economic parasites. They extract wealth from people's basic need for shelter whilst contributing nothing in return. What are you actually putting into society? And like those figures are atrocious. The fact that the buy-to-let businesses have surged that significantly. Businesses are not to create goods, but essentially not even to provide services, but essentially to take from those that are working incredibly hard in society. Wages are stagnating. Home ownership is becoming almost impossible to get. And then, I don't know. I feel like society is just depleting significantly.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about this, the entire economy it's almost false in a way, right? You've got basically commercial landlordism, which is now the biggest type of company, which doesn't add any social value or any kind of value, really. And then you've got essentially this rentier economy as well, which isn't just of landlordism, it's everything. Think about streaming services, right? They don't want you to own anything now. They can give it to you, they can take it away. And then couple with that with the fact that when people look at countries and they say, but they're growing really, really fast, the problem is, though, a lot of that growth is through debt, consumer debt. So, of course, if you're in debt, okay, that's not good for you, but on the books, that looks really, really good. So this is the sort of economy we are stumbling towards. A low productive economy, which has nothing to do, by the way, with hours worked. In fact, there's evidence out there to show that actually if you reduce the hours, productivity goes up, because guess what? Human beings are not robots. We need to have a rest. We need to, have a rest, take some time off, and then come back to work. Trying to squeeze more and more out of people will not work. So we have this, and then of course, when it comes to debts, people aren't participating in the economy in a meaningful way. A lot of our debt is not even going on luxury things. It's going on rent. It's going on food. And I even saw it today, actually, and you might have seen it. Wild stuff. DoorDash and another company, they're looking at maybe now doing takeaways and food on Klarna or some kind of payment thing. It just shows you this is such a dystopian economy. And then you've got people going on the Diary of a CEO podcast saying, well, the problem is people need more entrepreneurial spirit. And it's really insane how we're missing this glaring hole of this bullshit economy. And of course, landlords, they're fucking leeches.
They are leeches. It's true. It's true. And this isn't this isn't capitalism functioning properly. Anyone who wants to be like a huge, capitalism fan, like it's just a parasitic model where the housing market has been turned into this giant cash cow, where for landlords and investors alike, like while the rest of us get priced out of ever owning a home and then dealing with landlords who are raising those rents. And it hasn't happened accidentally. It's as a result of deliberate policy decisions, because the government could have shut this down years ago, but they haven't. The Tories literally phased out mortgage interest tax relief in 2017, but they didn't close the loophole for corporate landlords. So what did they end up doing? They end up, building these portfolios into company structures essentially, and they kept dodging tax. So with the figures that you've just shown, looking at that increase, it's not entrepreneurship; it's just legalized looting essentially.
That's a very good way of putting it, legalized looting. Because that's what it is. And the idea, people say to go out and work to produce some kind of value to society. And that, I mean, look, this is the natural endpoint of capitalism. And I know you're not saying that because obviously a lot of people could say, oh no, it's corporatism. It's not capitalism. This is the natural endpoint. But if we were just to have a sort of discussion within the capitalist frame, right? I'm not arguing as a socialist. I'm arguing as a social democrat. The capitalism that you guys say that you want isn't providing. It's not going out there producing something and then the market basically self-regulates in a way that's beneficial for society. That's the theory, but of course it's just a theory. But in reality, without some kind of regulation or going even further and having some sort of democratization of the workplace and the economy, you're going to get not just gross levels of inequality, but the type of wealth that's being produced is basically sucking it out of renting. The economy essentially is being rented to us, and we own nothing, which is so funny because a lot of the people who talk about WEF, the World Economic Forum, they're secret communists, you'll own nothing. And it's like, well, WEF is just a capitalist sort of little circle jerk thing to say, pat themselves on the back, like, oh, we as capitalists can solve the world issues. You ignore them. But yeah, you won't own anything, and that's under capitalism.
Yeah, agreed. And where do we actually go from here? Because when you've got someone like Bryn telling us, to work 60 hours a week to boost productivity, like productivity for who? Like the average person in this country is already working harder than ever. But where does that wealth go? Would it go straight into the pockets of people who are taking it from us? Landlords who do nothing but siphon off wages from working people. I think if we genuinely want a productive economy, and I think they do, maybe somewhere deep within they do, we need to stop rewarding those who extract wealth and start supporting those who actually create it. So that means, serious rent controls to stop landlords from price gouging tenants. I mean, in an ideal world, completely abolishing landlords, but I don't know if that's realistic. And investing.
We can always push it, can't we?
Investing in
reach for the stars.
Reach for the stars.
You're being aspirational. That's
I
what
know,
we capitalists want,
literally.
right? We're aspiring to get rid of landlords.
We are. I think that's the ideal solution. But closing these stupid tax loopholes so landlords don't get away with dodging their fair share, and a shift away from housing as a speculative asset. So homes are actually treated as places to live, not just investment vehicles for the rich. That's what's pissing me off. The fact that they see it as this asset to extract money from. Like everyone has a right to shelter, and here you are driving people out of it.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.